Good morning, dear ones, and welcome to today's Healing Day brought to you by Black Lives Matter, Louisville, and Black Love. As you know, we are supporting 5 Black films in the community. You can support that work by hitting up the GoFundMe to support them. We're excited about today's programming and excited about continuing to encourage you all to heal and to touch base with yourself. Let's all just take a moment where we are and close your eyes if you feel safe doing so. If your eyes are closed, try to find something to focus on. If it's your hands, your foot, if it's something in front of you or something to the side. Let's plant ourselves where we are. Take a deep breath in, hold it, and release. Let's do one more. Take a deep breath in, hold it, and release. It's been a long week and a long weekend and an even longer year. And how proud you all must be of yourselves for continuing to find ways to care for you in the midst of a once in a lifetime global pandemic, in the midst of global uprisings and of deep community and personal hurt. We are still here. We're going to shift out of surviving and claim thriving for ourselves with help. So, for today, we have a real treat for you all. Our first practitioner is Bree Reed. Bree is a brilliant young Black femme out of Baltimore who has a bold voice when it comes to transformative justice and healing and just all things justice. So we're going to turn it over to Bree. Bree, if you can give us an intro and then just get us into whatever brilliance you have for us today.
Hey y'all, thank you, Jess, so much for having me. Thank you to the organizers who are bringing us so much loving and courageous programming today. Like Jess said, I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I am 22, a student of abolition, a person who believes in the abundance and the power of Black folk. I am so lucky to be here and share time to love on each other across the distance, across state lines, across the world, and to give honor and to support so many today. And as we do that, I'm going to share my screen so that we can pull up my presentation. So, for today, I want to do a meditation and a tranquil exploration of Black feminist practice. And the Black feminist practice that I always come back to is the Black feminist practice of reading and writing and sharing space together through text, through the creation of text, the writing practice, the reading practice, and community. And the anthology that I want us to explore together, to meditate on, is a classic, foundational Black feminist anthology. It is The Black Woman, edited by Toni K. Bambara, which was published in New York in 1970. And this is a text that in my intellectual work, in my work as a practitioner, in my work as a community member, friend, sister, daughter, I continue to come back to. And the reason I think it's important today, and most days, if not all of them, to meditate on Black feminist practice is that for a long time, writing and reading have been intergenerational practices for Black folks. So today, I want to explore Toni K. Bambara's legacy, writing, and the power of Black feminist anthologies. My journey with this text is long and loving. I did not discover the Black woman when I was a young adolescent girl. I didn't discover it in my home, but it was given to me by a poetry professor at Hunter College. And if you are familiar, Hunter College is a part of the CUNY university system out in New York. And the fascinating piece about that to me is that this poetry professor at Hunter gifts me my first copy of the Black Woman anthology, but also the ways that CUNY was a space of relation for so many Black feminists, thinking about Toni Cade Bambara herself, who taught there, June Jordan and Audre Lorde, who are incredible poets in their own right, were also teachers and professors at CUNY. And the ways that they came together in letter writing, inventing, and sharing space is something that I also hold when I think about this anthology. For my work at large, I'm really fascinated by scandalous women, the kinship networks that kept them together, and the practices that fed them, not only literally in the kitchen, but the practices that fed them in spirit, in friendship, in love with each other. And I always say, Black feminists held each other in writing, in living, and in loving. And again, I'm coming back to Toni Cade Bambara, June Jordan, and Audre Lorde. With all of these three Black women, I really uphold them as some of the foremost scandalous Black women intellectuals, practitioners, and poets. Moreover, I think about the large kinship networks that they held in each other and outside of each other, right? So I'm thinking about the way that Toni Cade Bambara loved Toni Morrison, loved Nikki Giovanni, right? I'm thinking about the ways that June Jordan becomes a part of this very expansive history of Black women and femmes who attend Barnard College in New York. And of course, I'm thinking about Audre Lorde and everything that Audre Lorde gives us in terms of really talking about a Black lesbian analysis of the world, of the academy, and of what it means to be a poet with a voice, right? And so I'm going to read a few excerpts from throughout the anthology. And as I do so, I really want us to think about language, storytelling, and the collective experience that we get when we read an anthology, right? So for language, we are sharing different, varying definitions of concepts and words. We are together as we read through different concepts such as Blackhood, Black womanhood, and what it means to be a revolutionary. I'm also thinking about storytelling, of course, right? Because as an editor, Bambara is sharing a story with us via the crafting of this anthology. Not only is Bambara tasked with getting submissions and compiling them, but how is this anthology sectioned, right? How is it sectioned out? How are the different pieces metered out against, with, and in contention with each other? Moreover, this anthology is particularly beautiful to me to study, to sit with, to marinate on, because Toni Cade Bambara doesn't just function as this omniscient, all-knowing editor in the background, right, who is moving things around, who is offering edits here and there, but she offers her own voice in multiple sections throughout this anthology. She's not this behind the scenes presence who doesn't offer anything that they're writing. She offers several essays in this anthology as a contributor. And lastly, I'm thinking about the collective experience. I'm thinking about what happens when we share our stories publicly and collectively in a setting as an anthology. When we think about the collective experience of print text, right? How does an anthology relate to other shared spaces of collective publication, like a short story collection or an intellectual academic journal? Where do we place the anthology in our understanding of the Black radical tradition, in our understanding of the Black radical tradition, especially as it extends and shatters the academy, the university? How have Black feminist anthologies always been there? So we're going to start with the Black woman. And then as I go throughout the rest of this meditation, this presentation, we're also going to think about other Black feminist and Black anthologies that came after. So the first section that I'm going to read is from Toni K. Bambara's essay on the issue of roles, which, if you have a copy of The Black Woman, it starts on 123. And I'm going to jump around and read a couple lines so that we can understand the gist of what Toni K. Bambara is saying to us. And then we're going to parse it out and we're going to explore those themes further. On the issue of roles, Toni Cade, later Toni Cade Bambara. In the last few years, I have frequently been asked to speak on the topic of the Black women's role in the revolution. Invariably, I get a little tongue-tied at the outset, trying to clarify some of the difficulties I have even coping with the title. What Black woman did you have in mind? Each of us, after all, has particular skills and styles that suit us for particular tasks in the struggle. I'm not altogether sure we agree on the term revolution, or I wouldn't be having so much difficulty with the phrase woman's role. I have always, I think, opposed the stereotypic definitions of masculine and feminine, not only because I thought it was a lot of merchandising nonsense, but rather because I always found the either or implicit in those definitions antithetical to what I was all about and what revolution for self is all about, the whole person. And so with this first section of On the Issue of Roles, Toni K. Bambara is bringing us anti-capitalism. She is bringing us critique of gender binary. She is giving us so much and asking us to be specific in our understandings of revolution, right? We are getting language, storytelling, and this expansive questioning of the collective experience of what Black woman revolutionary are you talking about, right? And as Toni K. Bambara continues throughout this piece, it's a constant questioning against this situation of identity, particularly of gender, against this backdrop and with the tension of revolution. She's talking about gender, image, revolution, jewelry, dress, and how all of this goes into how we organize ourselves and establish ourselves further in the movement. On page 133, Toni K. Bambara offers her infamous quote, "Revolution begins with the self in the self. The individual, the basic revolutionary unit, must be purged of poison and lies that assault the ego and threaten the heart, that hazard the next larger unit, the couple or pair that jeopardize the still larger unit, the family or cell that put together the entire movement in peril. We make many false starts because we have been programmed to depend on white models or white interpretations of non-white models, so we don't even ask the correct questions, much less begin to move in a correct direction. Perhaps we need to face the terrifying and overwhelming possibility that there are no models, that we shall have to create from scratch." And she goes on to say, "The job then regarding roles is to submerge all breezy definitions of manhood, womanhood, or reject them out of hand if you're not squeamish, until realistic definitions emerge through a commitment to Blackhood." She warns that it may be lonely, certainly painful. It'll take time. We've got time. That, of course, is an unpopular utterance these days. And she gets into this critique of instant revolution. And so On the Issue of Roles is a particularly strong essay in this anthology because Toni K. Bambara offers us the concept of Blackhood in 1970. And so much of Blackhood connects to this ongoing analysis and thought work that we are doing around gender abolition, gender, and what it means to be for Black folks, right? So I pull out that quote from 134, and I offer it again here, because I think that so much of what Toni K. Bambara offers us in writing and reading and being with us on the page goes into work that so many Black women and Black feminist intellectuals are doing now. When we talk about Spillers, Patrice Douglas, Savannah Shunge, and so many others in movement, in organizing, in care work, are constantly pushing back against the idea of roles, against the idea of monoliths, and against the idea that we can flatten all that we are, all of our Blackhood, into static models or definitions from non-white and non-Black actors. All of this beautiful things to say, there is a rich history of writing, practice, and community for Black folks. Writing and reading together has been a part of our healing practice, I would argue, since the dawn of time. And so we get The Black Woman from Toni Cade Bambara in 1970. So this book is dedicated to the uptown mamas who nudged me to just set it down in print, so it gets to be a habit to write letters to each other. So maybe that way we don't keep treadmilling the same old ground. And then we get But Some of Us Are Brave, which for so many of us is a seminal text in our lives, our loving, and our study. And that comes out in 1982. And so this anthology, which I also have a copy of here on the shelf, is an anthology of Black women's studies aiming to save Black women's lives. So we get Georgia T. Hull, Patricia Bell Scott, and Barbara Smith putting together this rigorous study of Black feminist criticism, these references to other pivotal Black feminists like Michelle Wallace, and bringing in so many voices so that we can understand the early years and the early histories of Black women's studies. And then in 2020, we get a beautiful and gorgeous anthology in Black Futures. And in the introduction of Black Futures, its curators offer us, we invite you to see these pieces as exercises to inspire you beyond the book, to care for yourself, to start an archive, and to feed you as you create your own Black futures. So here, time and time again, we are reminded of the history of writing and reading as practices for healing in Black community. I hope that if you don't already have a copy of each of these up on the screen, that you find one, find a friend, and that we can come together again in our living rooms and study and read and be still together. Be still together at a time that is demanding so much from so many of us. I hope we find the time to read together, to read with the children we love, to read with the kinfolk we love, and to let the words seep into us, to find us where we are and never leave. I hope that as you listen to my voice right now, you know that you can always come back to Black feminists who are offering us poetry, short stories, essays, and critical thought to help make sense of the systems and structures that are forever poised to end us, and know that again and again, we persist, we love, and we create together. So that was my reading and reflection for the first part of our time together. And now I really just want to continue to read, to think about poetry, to think about how writing as a Black feminist healing practice is something that it takes time, it takes reflection, it takes self-awareness, and it takes us being together. Writing and reading, while they can be done individually, are by no means set up as an individual practice to be divorced of our literary elders, our literary kinship networks, as I like to call it. We cannot write and explore all that is Blackness, all that is revolution, without taking the time to think about the Black feminists who make it possible. So I hope that everybody is able to take time and marinate on The Black Woman by Toni Cade Bambara, is able to take time and pick up their copy of But Some of Us Are Brave, to sit with the work of Audre Lorde and June Jordan and Toni Cade Bambara, to get into the work of Polly Marshall, Polly Murray, Toni Morrison, and so many others. To take time to sit and not understanding. If you read through the first time and you don't understand, it's okay. Lean on each other. We have each other. We have always had each other. We can sit in the loving practice of reading and struggling, right? We can sit in the loving practice of writing poems, writing letters, letters to ourselves, letters to our loved ones, and taking time to understand all that we are. I'm thinking back to the breaths that Jess led us through before we started, and I'm thinking about all of the work that we continue to do together, all of the work that we can never forget, and all of the beautiful work that is to come. And I'm reminded of another essay from Toni K. Bambara in The Black Woman, where she writes about guerrilla intellectuals, where she writes about the ways that we can come together and build communities that we love. And I will read a brief excerpt of that. This is from page 211 of The Black Woman, Toni K. Bambara's The Pill, Genocide or Liberation. And here she's talking about the beauty in loving each other and the beauty of thinking through raising revolutionaries. The all too breezy, no pill, have kids, mess up the man's plan notion these comic book loving sisters find so exciting is very seductive, because it's a clear cut and easy thing for her to do for the cause since it nourishes her sense of martyrdom. If the thing is numbers merely, what the hell? But if we are talking about revolution, creating an army for today and tomorrow, I think the brothers who've been screaming these past years had better do their homework. Raise super people should be the message, and that takes some pulling together. The pill is a way for the woman to be in position to be pulled together, and I find it criminal of people on the podium or in print or wherever to tell young girls not to go to clinics or advise welfare ladies to go on producing, or to suggest to women with flabby skills and uncertain options, but who are trying to get up off their knees, that the pill is counter-revolutionary. It would be a greater service to all of us to introduce them to the pill first, to focus on preparation of the self rather than the abandonment of controls. And again, I'm reminded that in 1970, Black feminists are continuing to push us forward when we talk about reproductive justice and reproductive rights and health. When we're thinking about kinship beyond the biological family, we are given so many tools when we get back to reading, when we get back in the living room together to learning outside of institutions, outside of the ivory tower, and we sit with each other. And we think about all that we are, all that we can be, and all that we have the potential and power to be. So as we spend the next part of this hour together, I hope that you join me in grabbing a notebook, an iPad, a MacBook, a new tab on your computer, because I would love to go through some writing prompts together as we continue to meditate. So I'm grabbing my pencil and paper. And we're going to do a writing meditation in real time. And as we meditate, I'm going to prompt us all to answer 5 questions. And I'm here with you, answering the questions myself. And I will share my responses. And if you're commenting along with us, we'll be able to see your responses. The first question being, when you hear the word future, what do you imagine? When you hear the word future, what do you imagine? And for each of the questions, we're going to take about 4 minutes to think through, to write together. And then I will share out my response and we'll move on to the next question. So I'm going to set a little timer for myself and write a brief poem. Future.
Oh, namakamboe. Oh, namakamboe. Oh, namakamboe. Ngai namakamboe. Munu para kileba juliba lutua. Lutua. Lutua unu ekloe. Lutua unu ekloe. Oh, namakamboe. Yeah. Ngai namakamboe. Yeah. Oh, namakamboe. Yeah. Ngai namakamboe. Unu para kileba juliba. Oh, namakamboe. Ngai namakamboe. Songi songi bandekoe. Ngai namakamboe. Oh, namakamboe. Unu para kileba juliba lutua. Lutua. Lutua unu wengue. Lutua unu wengue. Oh, namakamboe. Ngai namakamboe. Ngai namakamboe. Unu para kileba juliba lutua. Lutua. Lutua unu wengue. Oh, namakamboe. Ngai namakamboe. Oh, namakamboe. Ngai namotema. Unu para kile unu badu tua. 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 Unu wengue. Songi bandiko likambo na
When you hear the word future, what do you imagine? For me, future sounds like someone else's emerald green imagination. A question from my grandmother when she cut the umbilical cord. Future sounds like my first breath. All the possibilities of love and struggle. Future sounds like someone else's emerald green imagination. Future, like my sister's garden. Future, like my mother's kitchen. Like mint tea and lavender lemonade on days when the work is us. Always us. When you hear the word future, what do you imagine? So thank you for journeying through that first prompt. Our second and next prompt, which gets a little bit more literal, is which Black feminist do you bring with you into your work? Which Black feminist do you bring with you into your work? And again, we're going to get that up on the screen for everybody and get our lovely music back. And write again for about 4 or 5 minutes about which Black feminists do you bring into your work. Please feel free to list them, to bring in some poetry, to think expansively. There are so many ways to answer this prompt together. So that second prompt was which Black feminist do you bring into your work? And I began writing a little bit of a prose piece, which I think will turn into a little bit of playful banter for future work because I really started thinking about the power in the name. And I began this piece with the lines, "One day we'll have a conversation about the power and glory of a Black woman's name. Think about your, by which I mean our, Black feminist elders. Think about how many of them named themselves and did so triumphantly. Consider the Tonys, Morrison, Bambara, the Barbaras, Smith, and all of the glory in a Black woman's name." And I was really thinking about Toni K. Bambara and Toni Morrison both naming themselves. I'm thinking of all of the Black feminists whose first name is Barbara Smith, Barbara Christian. I'm also thinking of Cheryl A. Wall, Black feminists named Toni and Barbara and Cheryl and Polly, and how many of them truly decided for themselves what path they would take and who they would be. I'm really sitting with that and how I bring their work into my own projects and how they show up for me as we get into this third prompt, where I'm going to ask us all to imagine your perfect Saturday, which it sounds like a small task, but I really want us to consider, imagine your perfect Saturday in an anti-capitalist, revolutionary world. What are you doing? Now that the weekends are broken open because we have changed the work week, we have living wages and abundance for everybody. What does your lovely Saturday in our anti-capitalist, loving future look like?
We look to away. What up, get you? Get you? What up, get you?
Hey y'all, welcome back. We just completed question 3, which was imagine your perfect Saturday in an anti-capitalist revolutionary world. In my offering, my imagining was, first, the sheets are clean. The floors are washed and all the windows are open. Second, there's fruit. And the laughter of loved ones fills the house. My sisters are outside in the garden, gathering more fruit and vegetables for lunch. We listen to Nina Simone, and we're grateful. So that's me imagining a perfect Saturday in an anti-capitalist revolutionary world. And we're heading into the last 2 questions, and I really want to get back to knowing reading and writing, right? So it's not just writing as a Black feminist practice, but also the reading of it. So this next question is one for reflection, and you might have to do a little bit of Googling or going to find one of your favorite books. So this prompt is, consider your comfort text, the book, poem, essay that tends to you. What's your favorite excerpt? So really asking us to go in search of the book, poem, or essay that tends to us when we need healing, when we need loving. And what is our favorite excerpt? Who are you pulling off the shelf? What are you going to look for on JSTOR or your favorite publication? What is your favorite excerpt? And I will be going to look for mine in the meantime as we get that up on the screen of what's your favorite excerpt.
Last night I had a dream. My baby won't ride with me. Last night I had a dream. My baby won't ride with me, yeah. since you left me. Ain't no man I used to be. Many days, many nights, I see the same dream, baby. Many days, many nights, I see the same dream. All long since you left me. Ain't no man I used to be.
Hey y'all, welcome back again. As we consider our comfort text, my comfort text, whether it be book, poem, essay, what have you, it's consistently changing throughout our time in the house during this panoramic. But this week, I have been really feeling called to poetry. So I picked up Don't Call Us Dead by Denez Smith, who actually lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I'm on page 16, and Denez offers us a poem that says, "How old am I? Today, I'm today. I'm as old as whatever light touches me. Some nights I'm new as the fire at my feet. Some nights I'm a star, glamorous, ancient, and already extinguished. We citizens of an unpopular heaven and low-attended crucifixions. Listen, I've accepted what I was given, be it my name or be it my ender's verdict. When I was born a bullseye. I spent my life arguing how I mattered until it didn't matter. Who knew my heaven would be my coffin? Dead is the safest I've ever been. I've never been so alive." And that leads us into our fifth and last prompt before Jess comes back on. And I think we are going to enjoy some questions together. But the last prompt that I leave you with is, what's the next book you'll be sharing with a loved one? What is the next book you'll be sharing with a loved one? Whether that be reading it together, a literal gift of sending someone a book for them to share, one of your favorites. But what is the next book you'll be sharing with a loved one, and who are you giving it to? So thank you for spending this time with me to think about Black feminist healing and writing practice. And I hope whoever you give that book to really feels appreciated and really feels loved.
Bree, thank you for sharing your heart and your brilliance with us today. Something that people may not know, just viewing what Bree offered today, is that she also has some killer playlists. So I gotta ask, if your work could be transformed into music or into a song, what would it be?
So the first thing that comes to mind is, I don't know, maybe it's growing up and going through like the voicemail era of music and songs, when people were incorporating voicemails and calls at the beginning and end of tracks. But I've always wanted to be the girl talking on the voicemail. Whether it was like the girl being angry or like Call Me Back. I've always wanted to do that. But I'm also thinking of the like the poets and the people with nice voices who get asked to do the interludes of just talking, right? Like I think the most famous interludes in our contemporary moment are like SZA's mom and grandmother. But just thinking about being the poet who gets to hop on in the middle of the album and read something.
Right. Oh, like LMA. Yeah. I'm
Now,
kidding. I'm kidding. I do
now,
like that monologue she does at the end of her songs. It hits. Yeah. Bree, thank you again for bringing this practice to us today. Let folks know again where they can find you, how they can support your work going forward.
thank you, y'all. As is on the screen, right? We got the Twitter and Instagram at the Bree Reed, BRYREED on everything. And I have some cute little content popping over on Patreon. And that's also, you can find it under my name at BRYREED on Patreon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bree. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
All right, y'all. So we got our practice done. I hope that everyone started off their day just with some deep reflection on how reading and really spending that time with yourself and reflecting on what it is that you've read can contribute towards your healing practices. So hopefully that's something that you can incorporate in your daily work. Next up, we have an artist, Rachel, who is going to be doing a live painting for us to dedicate this work to Breonna Taylor and to Louisville. So please enjoy this live painting and the accompanying music from Rachel.
If you got it, it ain't a question. Oh, it ain't no one for guessing. So more than emotionally invested. Maybe we should just listen. Right out, Daisy. We can listen for that sound Dustin makes. How are we gonna hear that? The only thing I can hear is the sound of leaves going crunch, crunch, crunch. Sit down, man, and accept defeat. You know, when you're out in nature, sometimes it's best to just be still. Hey, no more talking. What do you know? Listen. Oh, giving me signs. Promise that you won't let me fall. Holding me tight, loving me right, giving me life. All night you could be telling me lies, making me cry. Wasting my time, the whole time, so just be careful what you take for granted. Yeah. Cause with me, know you could do damage. You could do damage. You could do damage. Yeah. Worry about it, I'm putting pressure. You'll only cut me if I let you. So when you're doing this just for pleasure. Either love me or I'm a lesson. If you want me, don't take me for granted. Yeah. If I'm like more than you could manage, baby. Oh, you're falling for me. Oh, baby, I'm calling. Oh, we could be whatever you want, call it. Promise that you won't let me fall. Oh, oh, oh. Holding me tight, loving me right, giving me life all night. You could be telling me lies, making me cry, wasting my time the whole time. So just be careful what you take for granted. Yeah. Cause with me, know you could do damage. You could do damage. You could do damage. Oh, you could do damage. Oh, you could do damage. Yeah. Oh, you could do damage. Yeah. Oh, do damage. Oh, yeah. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see me. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see me. First you gotta forgive. Let me know everything gon' be okay. Even if I come out of everything I did, would you still punish me? You know I did it a long time ago. If so, let me know. If I propose, would you say no? Would you break my heart? Would you embarrass me or play your part? Baby, don't fold. My heart is yours. You got the power. Pussy power. You got the power. Pussy power. The flow is yours. The time is ours. Hey, you believe me or you don't. Choose to believe me or you won't. If you leave me, I'm gonna go. Baby, you told me that. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see it. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see it. You told me that you kill me if I fuck up. You told me I'm a lucky motherfucker. You love me, but you never ever trust me. You never ever trust me. There's these sides to the story, and that girl got a good PR. I knew we never make it far, because I like my bitches like a mama car. Oh, tell me you love me cause I know they won't. They wanna stay there for the photo shoot. Put them aside, baby, I know it's you. My niggas like baby, they hyping you. My family like it, yeah, liking you. My mama was sad that she skanking you. She wanna know what it is. You say either way. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see it. Let's make me believe it. Let's make me believe it. Believe you wanna see it. That was a beautiful moment. You really are the greatest opera, Dustin. I am so glad you agreed. Let's hear it for Dustin. It's time for our favorite band. It's getting hard for me to hold my own. Since nobody wants to be in love alone. So I'm trying my best not to overreact. But I need to know right now, no life just bad. So if you love me, just say so. 'Cause I can't play these games with you no more. So if you love me, just say so. I need to know from you right now before I go. Just that I can feel all the deep. I don't wanna fall unless you're falling with me. I need to know if this is really real. If you feel the same way that I feel. So if you love me, just say so. Just say so. 'Cause I can't play these games with you no more. So if you love me, just say so. Just say so. I need to know from you right now before I go. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. 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 Baby, I hope that you understand. This is for my peace of mind. I just don't wanna waste any more time. And if this love isn't what you want, then baby, let me know. I don't wanna go, but I want your better. So if you love me, just say so. You just say so. 'Cause I can't play these games with you no more. If you love me, just say so. Just say so. I need to know from you right now before I go. Hey, hey. Sleeping out there, cheap and rolling. Baby, okay, about to lose it. The body's on fire. Who love you long till you get tired? Ooh, baby, you got what? You the real one, I'm excited. Break me up, hey, get you, yeah, yeah, when the lights is out. Summertime, you should put that game on box. And do it how I like it, baby, nice and slow. Ooh, break me up, hey, get you, yeah, yeah, when the lights is out. Summertime, you should put that game on box. And do it how I like it, baby, nice and slow. My knees get weak when you touch me. Body, use it, sex gang, stupid. The body's on fire. Who love me long till you get tired? Ooh, baby, you got what? And you the real one, I'm excited.
Sidiela, Karambura Mafama, Sidiela, Karambura Mafama, Sidiela, Maita Musakima, Liga Sidikumbo.
Sogol, on babisaya plike, mununjel hongo, like mununjel kol, hey, haye, canani, sunye mele, alalwan me, mandoro ni chandie, waka kenek, bombaye, canami, ibahuyi, mandoro ni chandie, waka kenek, bombaye. Amumul me bitoro lo ni makondo, alole ni menchango, pancho la me ikere hongo, bambega la ni me bisai, Bambul ni mengambi. Hey, hey, hey. Oh. So le mele. Bauila. Chandie. Wakene. Bongaye. Halalwe mo. So le mele. Baunemleme. Chandie. Wakene. Bongaye. Uisonanime, Kalielime, Mikenek, Mimbomdaga, Mikumuli Chandie, Isola Lilombole, Jelieme. Sika, 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 Manduro ni chandie, wakene, ponga he mo mano, diga pome moi, baui. Manduro ni chandie, wakene, ponga he. So I'm your melea, Himalaya manueme, Ilmauila, Manduro ni chandie, wakene, ponga he. Tingara uma onde tome damne de. Cinco, mam cinco, cinco. This all the melea, and it's all melea manueme, and it's all melea de lo ane om cinco.
Abantu abafika bedangile ekuseni bengazi ukubana badaniswe yiwini. Hawu, thokoza nje ngelanga namhlanje. Sitshele nje ukuthi ufuna ukuthokoza kuzokuhambela kuhle. Hawu, lethi thokoza uzobona kuhamba kanjani. Oyo yo, oyo yo yo, oyo. Yo yo yo, vuka ulaleleni, jabula utaneleni, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Thokoza, jabula, bobotheka, ngobumuhle. Udana kusemqondweni wakho, lentokozo layo isemandleni akho. Udana kusemqondweni wakho, lentokozo layo isemandleni akho. Ngakho jabula, udaneleni, jabula, udaneleni, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Thokoza, jabula, bobotheka, ngobumuhle. Oyo Isala kuchela sibona ngumobo Isala kuchelwa sibona ngumobo Ukudana kusempondweni wakho into osolayo isamandle nakho Ukudana kusempondweni wakho bo into osolayo isamandle nakho nakujabula Fuga ulaleleni Oyo Oyo ulaleleni Jayula Oyo ulaleleni Jayula Oyo ulaleleni
Sumalambe sumama, sumalambe sumama. Boya, haluma yejo tefuye, ala yezo akini mwana, akamade yuma. Sumalambe sumama, sumalambe sumama. Boya, haluma yejo tefuye. Nale kafu kunye kolosibi monuna imonu masala kisi toro maimiri ni miri dinye latima kononga filini tuzukasile alangisi utuzukasima ninye miri dinye kenyama manyuma kubale udiele ife ierelena wakumanyuma ndefuiko fejamu nitinuma ideyala sumalambe sumama sumalambe sumama Boya aluma yejo tefuye ala yezo akini sumalambe sumama sumalambe sumama Boya aluma yejo tefuye ala yezo akini Dunia mumidamni kameka kanule yodi munfindani kameka kanule yodi kanyenyo kenyofe haluma utate wallahi munifin tewoya te damadente suma lambe suma balule majama dunia mafele inyalaka ikasika dunia ye Mosiamane sarafebuya kunfinyani japatuko so sumalane suma oh yeah aluma yeto takuye
Hey y'all. So we're continuing in the healing practice, and we also want to remind folks that we're doing this as an actual practice. So you can come and join in and watch the live art happening. You can also contribute towards healing. Now, talking about healing is a step, but let's practice. All day we're raising funds for a healing fund for Black femmes. And I think we have the address is going across the bottom. We want to support Black femmes and community, and this is your opportunity to support the healing that's needed for Louisville. Let's get back to the live painting.
Kali elime Minkenek mimbomdaga Mikumuli chandie Isogola bilombole njelieme Sika Mandoro ni chandie wakene ponga he mo mano diga pome moi baui Mandoro ni chandie wakene ponga he so em yemelea yemelea manueme baui Ilmauila, Anuroni Chanie, Makene, Wamgae, Tingara, my own day, Tom, and I'm the single, a single, mom, single, and single. This old door and a lay, it is all and a lay. I'm away, the end is all and a deal, the low and the single.
Yeah, le ingoma yabantu abafika bedandile ekuseni bengazi ukubana badaniswe yiwini. Hawu, thokoza nje ngelanga namhlanje, sitshele nje ukuthi ufuna ukuthokoza kuzokuhambela kuhle. Hawu, lethi intokozo uzobona ukuthi kuyohamba kanjani. Oyo yo, oyo yo yo, oyo yo, oyo yo yo. Vuka ulaleleni, jabula udaneleni, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Thokoza, jabula, bobotheka ngobumuhle, udana kusemqondweni wakho, intokozo layo isemandleni akho, udana kusemqondweni wakho, intokozo layo isemandleni akho. Ngakho jabula, udaneleni, jabula, udaneleni, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Thokoza, jabula, bobotheka ngobumuhle. Oyo yo, oyo yo yo, oyo yo, oyo yo yo. Isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo, isala kutshelwa sibona ngumobo. Udana kusemqondweni wakho, intokozo layo isemandleni akho, udana kusemqondweni wakho bo, intokozo layo isemandleni akho. Ngakho jabula, vuka ulaleleni, oyo yo, oyo ulaleleni, jabula, oyo udaneleni, jabula, oyo udaneleni.
Oh yeah, haluma yejo te furie, hala yejo akini, akamade luma, sumala me suma, sumala me suma. Oh yeah, haluma yejo te furie, hala yejo akini, akamade luma. Nale kafu kunye kolosi bimonuna imonu masala yana kisi toro maimiri ni miri dinya latima kononga filini tuzukasile ala kisi utuzukasima. Ninye miritinye kenyama manyuma kubale Udiele ife ierelena wakumanyuma ndetuliko fejano nifinuma ideyala sumala mbezuma sumala mbezuma Oya aluma yezo tefuye Dunia mumidani kameka kanule yodi munfingani kameka kanule yodi kanye nyuke nyuke haluma ojate wallahi munifin tewiya te damadente suma lambe suma Balule majama dunia mafele inyalaka ikasika dunia ye mosiamane sarake kebuya kumfinyani japatuko so sumalande sumalande oh yeah haluma yejo takuye I said I'm not done. I got to fill in the flowers.
Entonces. All right. So, again, we want to thank folks for joining us for this section of the Healing Day. We want to remind you that none of this work is possible without community and that we are looking forward to building with 5 Black films in community. If you're interested in contributing to that fund, the link to do so is at the bottom. Rachel, we want to thank you. She is continuing to paint as we transition into our next block for the Healing Day. But she's going to continue to paint, and bidding will also be available, and we'll post that information on the page. You can find Rachel on Instagram at Picture Me Rolling, and we'll flash that across the screen in a little bit. Rachel is a mother of 3 brilliant Black children whose futures are made possible by her imagination and her will and resiliency and her heart. And we're thankful for the time that she contributed today. Let's see. I thought my camera was on. Okay. And again, you can follow her on Instagram at Picture Me Rolling. We'll have information about bidding on the piece that she is working on today. Thank you all for joining us for this portion of the Healing Day. And again, we encourage you to reconnect with yourselves, reconnect with your community, and find ways to heal through this.